Welcome to Steam Dream TV, and I'm Brian Sr., and I am here with Mr. Tony Sadiku, meteorologist with Fox 13 News. Thank you for joining me today, Mr. Sadiku.
Thanks so much, Brian. So glad to be here.
No problem. You're a graduate of the University of Florida and Mississippi State University. What attracted you to both institutions?
I don't think there was anything specific about both schools. I've always heard great things about University of Florida. Sports fan, so falling in love with the Florida Gators, Florida Gator football and basketball, and growing up, they were great. And then when I got there, not so great. But I heard they had a great journalism program. Didn't know quite how good it was until I got there and got a chance to experience it. But it was a great choice for me. I think it really worked out. And then Mississippi State was just they've got a pretty well-known meteorology program, and I got a chance to be a part of that.
That's great. Your undergrad studies were in journalism and communication. Did you study journalism to become a meteorologist, or did you have another career in mind?
Yeah, so I don't think my plan all along was to do what I'm doing now. It's funny how it all happened. I grew up always loving weather, but journalism and meteorology, sometimes don't always go hand in hand. You don't have to go into news to become a meteorologist. Most meteorologists work outside of TV news. Mm-hmm. But I just remember growing up and always enjoyed watching the news. And I really enjoyed watching it for weather. There was a meteorologist that came into my school when I was in third grade, and I just remember being super intrigued by his job and watching him on TV. I think I was always scared of big storms and thunderstorms, and living in Minnesota, we had all kinds of crazy weather. So it was really one of those things where, fast forward so many years, I had the opportunity to actually, learn meteorology and be a part of the University of Florida's weather department, which was just getting started when I went there. And it was cool to take my fascination for meteorology, even though I didn't know much about it, and actually get a chance to do it. And I was terrible at it at first, mind you, I was unwatchable. But it was one of those things where I think over time, just sticking with it and having mentors that really believed in me, I was like, this is a lot of fun, and I think I can do this.
How did you discover your love for journalism and meteorology?
My love for journalism. I think journalism is one of those things that really is important, right? It's important that we have journalism. It's important that, people can hold other people accountable, that people can ask questions, and that, media exists, right? So for me, it was just, I think I really fell in love with talking to people, all different kinds of people, sharing their stories. I'm a firm believer that everyone's got a story to share. And if I get a chance to, if I get a chance to be privileged enough for someone to share their story with me, I think that's really neat. And the fact that I can then share that with other people, I thought that was really cool. So while I've always been a meteorologist, I've always also been a storyteller and a journalist.
Awesome. As a meteorologist, how do you read the screen full of weather information that we see and hear every day on the news?
Yeah, that's the magic of TV. A lot of people, you might be familiar with the green screen that you see. It's not just exclusive to TV news, but we use it in TV news. They also use it in movies and probably a lot of shows that you watch. And what you see at home is just a guy standing in front of the map. And what I see is a green background. Usually it's a wall, a green wall, or a curtain. Sometimes it's a blue screen, but it's called a chroma key. And basically, the director is able to punch up the graphics that you see at home in the weather graphics. And what it looks like for me is I've got two reference monitors on both sides that I can look at and kind of have a sense of direction of what I'm pointing at, and also have one in front of me. And basically, you just get the illusion that I'm looking back behind me when I'm actually looking at a monitor to my side.
I read that you were once nominated for an Emmy Award. Tell us about that nomination and what was your initial reaction to the news?
That was really cool. I'm not really one that's big on awards and not necessarily something that I feel like I need to validate what I do or to really feel a sense of purpose, but it was really cool, I mean, because everyone's heard of the Emmys, so it's a really cool award to be nominated for. And, I had done two really big stories that year, and one was getting a chance to fly with the hurricane hunters. And as they went through borderline Category 5 Hurricane Dorian back in 2017, I believe, and then going with a nonprofit organization to the Bahamas, which got ravaged by the storm, and telling some of those stories of the people that lived there and had to endure that, which was really compelling. But funnily enough, that wasn't the story that got nominated. Instead, it was another piece that I did with my weather team at the time in Charlotte. And it was basically just a winter weather forecast, but it was done in a really creative way. So we did a lot of cool graphics where we were able to kind of forecast what we thought was going to happen during the winter in different regions. And North Carolina is one of those places where, just a few miles makes the difference between whether you get, a snow event or ice or rain. So it was a cool, creative piece, and that's what I guess the Emmys thought was worth nominating. So it was really cool.
You mentioned chasing Hurricane Dorian.
Right.
What was that like? Like, were you actually chasing it, or was it kind of?
Yeah, I guess chasing. I don't know. We flew through the storm, which is wild, and it was a memorable experience. Probably one of the most memorable experiences of my career because not a lot of people get to do it, and I love forecasting hurricanes. Obviously, I don't want any hurricanes, but I've always loved the science of hurricanes, and I've always had this on my mind. If I ever get a chance to do this, I'd love to do it, and and I had the opportunity, and this thing literally happened like overnight. Like, it was one of those things where I was living in Charlotte. They flew out of Biloxi, Mississippi, and like the next day we had to drive like 9 hours down there because they gave us like 2 seats on the plane. Even though they fly all the time, they don't always have media seats, and so it was really cool. And the best part for me was getting a chance to see just how they do this, because a lot of people don't realize that what they do is really critical. Obviously planes are taught to fly away from storms, but these guys, men and women, they fly into harm's way, and the goal is to gather data that's really important for forecasters to nail down the track and intensity, because they measure things like temperature, dew point, humidity, all these things, pressure, things that go into the models and help forecasters nail down the forecast. For instance, this past storm, like National Hurricane Center nailed the track forecast, and it's one of those things where that's a critical piece of how we have the forecasts that we have. And it was really cool to be on the plane as this it's part of the Air Force. So obviously you think about a military style team, but like everyone doing their job was so critical for not only safety, but also gathering that data.
How do you keep your viewers from panicking when there's a big storm or hurricane coming?
That's a good question. I think it's just a matter of just being transparent with the viewer. We don't always know exactly what's going to happen. Sometimes it's a game time decision. Our forecasting has gotten a lot better over the decades, but I think for me it's just a matter of communicating what we know and what we don't know, and helping the viewer prepare. That way they don't have to feel scared, because I think that's where that comes from, is the unknown, is the fear of the unknown. But if you know what to expect, you can make the best decision, right?
As we are closing in this interview, I would just like to ask some fun would you rather questions. Is
Sure.
that okay? Okay. Would you rather go in the past and meet your ancestors, or go in the future and meet your great-grandchildren?
Probably go in the past and meet my great ancestors. I think I know a little bit about my family heritage, but it would be cool to learn a lot more, and that would be, yeah.
Would you rather predict the weather incorrectly on live television or accidentally cause a huge hurricane just by thought?
Don't want to cause a huge hurricane. I think I'd rather predict. I mean, as long as it's not like anything that's gonna, you know, nothing completely bad. But I think we get it wrong sometimes. I think we can admit that it's rare. But I think I'd rather predict incorrectly on live TV than cause a huge hurricane. No one wants that.
Yeah. Would you rather be interviewed by your favorite celebrity or interview your favorite celebrity?
Yeah, I'd much rather interview them. I'm not a huge fan of being interviewed, and I think their lives would be way more interesting than mine. So, yeah.
Would you rather win the lottery or live twice as long?
Definitely win the lottery. Yeah, being broke and living twice as long doesn't really cut it.
Yeah. Would you rather wear a clown wig or clown shoes for a day?
Definitely the wig. Shoes would be uncomfortable. I feel like that could look silly for a day. Yeah.
Mr. Sadiku, it has been a pleasure meeting you today and learning about your journey as a meteorologist. Thank you, and I wish you success.
Thank you so much.